If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this brand new episode of Mind Pump.
Shiny.
Look, before we get into the fitness questions, we have some fun introductory conversation. That lasts about 40 minutes. Here's what we talked about. I talked about going to Santana Row and visiting a Lululemon store over the weekend and realizing that Vuori does a way better job. Yeah. Now, by the way, Vuori is one of our sponsors. They make amazing athletic and leisure wear. You got to go check them out. Go to Vuori Clothing. That's Vuori clothing.com/mindpump and use the code that's listed on the page for 25% off. Then we talked about Bezos, the founder of Amazon, and his divorce, $35 billion, I think it was.
Hey, payout.
Crazy. His wife instantly became the fourth, I believe, richest woman in the world. Insane.
Wow, just like that.
Then we talked about more trouble in Hollywood. Take them down. We talked about the new Disney reveal, the show Our Planet on Netflix. That was awesome. I talked about the difference between knowledge and wisdom. And then Adam talked about Catrina's new skinny dipped almond cravings. Apparently she's eating all the skinny dipped almonds, and Adam's trying to figure out ways to...
My favorite flavor, too.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out ways of hiding them from her. Anyway, Skinny Dipped, another one of our sponsors. Here's what you do if you want to get a discount. Go to skinnydipped.com/mindpump and enter the code mindpump for a full 20% off. Then we get into the fitness portion of this episode. The first question is, in order to break through a training plateau, this is where your progress stops or stalls, what's better to change up, the exercises or the reps that I do? Which one is going to get my body to respond again? The next question, how can meditation help your gains in the gym? Does a mindfulness practice help your body burn more body fat?
Visualize the muscle.
And build more muscle. Next question, should you cycle creatine? Creatine, one of the most popular muscle building supplements out there ever. Is it a good idea to take it all the time, or should you go on and off of it for better results? And the final question, what was one of the most unhealthy behaviors of clients that we've trained in the past? Also, this month, you guys asked for it, you got it. MAPS Split, a very advanced training program designed by bodybuilders for people who want to sculpt and shape their bodies like bodybuilders. So if you want to build a lot of muscle, shape your body, sculpt it, and if you love to work out, this is
if you're ready for it, Sal.
This is a 6-day-a-week program. It's not for beginners or for the faint of heart. Well, that program is 50% off. Here's what you do if you want to get the discount. Go to MAPS Split. There's two S's in the middle. MAPSSPLIT.com and use the code SPLIT50 SPLIT50. You'll get 50% off. And if you want to check out our other MAPS programs, you can find all the other ones at mapsfitnessproducts.com.
T-shirt time!
And it's T-shirt time.
Oh, Doug, you know this is my favorite time of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we have 4 winners this week. On iTunes, we have Giles Cates, Matthew McCasa, and for Facebook, we have Melissa McLaughlin, Chandler Davis. All of you are winners. Send a name I just read to iTunes at mindpumpmedia.com. Send your shirt size, your shipping address, include your Instagram handle, and we'll get that shirt right out to you.
Thanks, everybody. First of all, can we give a hand to the weather right now? It's about time it stopped raining.
Oh, it's beautiful out.
It was gorgeous. Besides the allergies that I'm getting, everything was...
Right, that's the only problem. I'm fighting that right now, man.
Dude.
Everything just comes out.
Dude, we were at the park, and I was laying on my back trying to read, and I'm just coughing like crazy.
I saw your post. What are you reading right now? What is that?
Oh, Right Side of History, Ben Shapiro.
Oh, that's... Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to read that.
You know what? I really... So I heard him on Joe Rogan, which is why I got the book.
Yeah, I listened to that.
The reason why I like him, I don't agree entirely with all of his views, but he does have a very live and let live attitude towards government, which I agree a lot with. But he explains himself very well, and I like the way he articulates himself. And then the case he was making was about how the foundations of liberty and Western civilization can lie in 2 places: Jerusalem, which was the creation of the Judeo-Christian religions, which say that all people are made in the image of God, which is very different when you compare it to other religions before that. And then the other one was in the philosophy of Athens, where they were talking about using your reason. And he says that those two things created Western civilization. So I said, this might be an interesting book. And so far, it's really good. But before we were at the park, when I was reading that book, I went to Santana Row because it was so nice. And we're walking around. And I was all, Vuori'd out, of course, because they provide us with cool clothes. And also because I hate shopping. So I get to I just wear it, right? So
you don't like options.
No, but I'm not gonna lie. It looks. I get compliments. So I walked inside Lululemon, and I'm like, okay, let me look at the guy stuff.
It's like blasphemy to do that with wearing your Vuori stuff.
Well, you gotta keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
I see.
So I walked in there, and I'm looking at the men's stuff in Lulu, and
sucks.
I just hate seeing the word Lulu.
They feel feminine, the Lulu clothes for men.
I wouldn't go there.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's
You don't think they feel kind of...
Well, I mean, I think what I'll tell you, being somebody who used to wear Lulu stuff, is I always had to get double XL, because they're XL. It feels as if it was designed for a bunch of cyclists. So even the XL, their XL is like medium.
That's what I mean. It doesn't feel masculine. Their clothes don't, and they don't have a masculine look or feel to them. Is what I mean. So they just do
get wedgies.
They just do a way better job. Way better job. So I really appreciate
I think that was part of Vuori's strategy. Was I think they saw that. I think they saw that Lulu really came in and dominated the female yoga space.
Yeah.
For activewear, but there was nobody really speaking to that for men.
Mm-mm.
So I think that was their first initiative, was to do that. I think Catrina loves their women's clothes too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the surprising thing.
Moves.
Yeah, same thing with Jessica. She loves it.
It was so exciting to have him stop by the studio and hang out again.
Yeah, great guy.
That was great.
I fucking really like Joe, and I like their company. I like what they're doing. Like, extremely proud of our team. In particular, Taylor. This is a lot of what he does on the side of the house is to vet brands like this, and I take a lot of pride in that we do a really good job of this. I really feel good about the people we partner with, and a lot of people may not know, but it's a long process. We just had somebody come in right now, which you guys will eventually hear that episode probably in the coming weeks, of a new company that we're looking to do work with, and that was almost a year process of looking into them and courting, and Taylor meeting with and going back and forth, and then us getting a chance to meet the CEO.
Well, I don't think a lot of people realize that when you're working with a brand, that it's a reflection on you as well. I think a lot of people forget that, and so they see that there's money. Oh, they're going to pay me. I'm going to talk about this company or this brand. But you then become associated with them, so it's really important that you're picky. You're kind of choosy with who you work with.
Well, and I know I understand, scaling and building a business and feeling that you're in this place where, okay, you finally get a little bit of traction, you have an audience, and you finally have the ability to take on sponsorship. I know how tempting it can be to want to do that. I think that we were very lucky and blessed to build this without those intentions. Like, we didn't say, hey, we're going to podcasting because we hear there's good advertising in podcasting. It was never like that for us. So even when that opportunity came about, we were able to stay away from that and say, hey, this wasn't the vision of the company. Like, we have so many programs and things that we want to write and create, and that's more important to our audience. That's more important. That's more of our wheelhouse. When it makes sense, we'll move over into the advertising and partnerships. And because I think we were so slow to that process, and we waited till we had someone like Taylor who could onboard, who could do all that work for us, while we focused on what we're great at, because I'll be the first to admit that, the process that goes into even finding a brand like the one people hear and like Vuori. I mean, Vuori wasn't even on anybody's radar 2.5 years ago when Taylor was looking into them. I mean, nobody was talking about them. Nobody knew who they were.
Yeah, they're everywhere now.
Yeah, now they're exploded. They're a massive company that's rapidly growing. What did Joe say? 300% year over year. I mean, they're just, and their shit's awesome, dude. I mean, when you wear it, it speaks for itself. It's a great brand with a great CEO, with a great vision, with incredible integrity. Just aligns with us really well.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. Did you guys read about Bezos?
His divorce. And,
How about his
payout?
His wife is now the fourth
Yeah.
richest woman in the world.
Instantly.
Score.
30. How much was it? $35 billion.
How about this though? Okay, credit her, okay, for her brilliance here. So, you there might be some people going like, "What the fuck? She could have had so much more, or taken half." But by ending this amicable and leaving him in mostly control and not trying to gut him in the divorce, she is going to make more money long term because she still has got stock in these companies that he is still scaling.
That's all assets in the company.
Exactly. People don't really think about like what potentially that divorce could have done to him. I mean, sure, it wouldn't have bankrupted him, but it most certainly, when you're in the middle of spending the amount of money he is to scale and grow his space, man, that would have definitely hindered that and probably crippled the stock price for a while, if not forever, potentially. And so for her to see the big picture and go, okay, I can try and gut this guy for 50% of everything because I'm entitled to it, which she is. She's been with him for forever.
Since before they took off.
Right. So she was
a part of their growth through that support system.
Absolutely.
I believe that for sure.
Absolutely. So, I think it was brilliant by her not to do that.
I also think that people need to. Here's a big one. A lot of times when people get divorced or break up, they're so bitter and angry because I guess the story is that he got caught, fooling around or whatever. And sometimes people get so angry that their whole goal is to destroy the other person.
Right.
But that is poison. That'll poison you. It'll completely poison you. It'll consume you. It doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make you feel any better. And then, of course, the cost of that, because I wonder how much the lawyers are making right now trying to sift through how they're going to pay her out and what this all looks like. Imagine if she was just clawing and fighting, how much that would cost.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
it would have been
everybody more money.
Oh, you're talking about tens of billions of dollars. It's got to be, how much do you think the lawyers are going to be making? Would have made off this? Millions?
Yeah.
Probably.
Hundreds of
I was
millions.
going to say hundreds of millions.
Yeah, I would
bro.
say
Maybe.
100 million.
Yeah.
At least.
To work through all that legal paperwork and what that all looks
chalk
like.
it up on their hours of the,
But
$1 million an hour.
But just also the destruction on yourself, is, I don't care how much you hate someone. Of course, there's always justice. So you want to get your justice. But after a certain point, you're better off being like, fine, we're done. Let's make it clean. Let's do this so that we don't, I may hurt you, but I'm hurting myself in the process. That's not a very good strategy. And it's all driven by hate and anger, and it never feels good. It never makes you feel better. You're better off being like, fine, fuck you. Let's make it clean. Let's be done with this. And then you're off on your own and I'm off on my own. And it still sucks. Don't get me wrong. But it's way better than what I see a lot of people do when they go through shit like that.
Yeah. So speaking of like news like this, more trouble in Hollywood.
Good.
Yep. So you got over
more fires to put out.
Over 13,000 members of the WGA, with the Writers Guild Association or something. I think that's what it's called. They're threatening to fire all the agents that work between them and like the shows. Something like the agencies are corrupt and not looking out for their interests. They package deals to get the films and series done, which doesn't allow the writers much room to negotiate. And it's an old system that's been around forever that everybody's just accepted because it was the only way that these writers could be successful and make money. But now with all these streaming services coming around, there's other opportunities, and so they're like, "Fuck you now." And so you're going to see a big revolt over there in Hollywood. I'm telling you right now, it's the beginning.
More legs just getting cut out from under them.
Yeah, and then at the same time, you got Thursday. Disney is giving their sneak peek to their streaming service, so that's gonna be interesting. And then Netflix, I don't know if you guys saw this, just dropped their response to Disney's, because Disney owns Discovery, right?
Yeah.
So they've got what's it called, Animal Planet, or what's the big one that everybody loves to watch? That's Discovery.
Is it like Earth or something like that?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Blue Planet.
Planet Earth.
Yeah, Blue Planet. I think it's Blue Planet. I think is a Discovery, right? So they're owned by Disney, and so Disney was planning on pulling all this content to go to their streaming service, which would then in turn, well, I didn't know this, but over the last 4 years, Netflix has been shooting their Our Planet.
Have you seen some of it yet?
So I saw clips of it. It's like
brilliant.
Yeah,
they did a phenomenal.
It's really good.
Yeah,
they did a phenomenal job. And the writing and what I like about the streaming services with the writing is they take a little bit more risks with how they write things and put them together. I was watching, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's a show of these teenagers who are going into high school, and they grew up, and it looks like East LA, but it has a lot of the flavor of the 90s, even though it's current. Can't remember the name of the show. It was really good, but the writing is so smart, because what I get from some of the shows on Netflix, like Sex Education is like this. Things happen on that show that for sure could never happen in real life. So it's almost like an alternate universe, but that's also kind of realistic, which allows them to be more creative with how they write things, how the people communicate to each other, how how the people in the show dress and act. Like there's this, like the show that I'm talking about, I can't remember the name of it. It's got this, I was almost confused for a second. I'm like, is this the 90s? They were listening to 90s music. The cars kind of seemed, the style seemed kind of 90s. They weren't really on their phones that much, but then they were on their phones a little bit. So I'm like, no, this is actually, and then they went to a party that said 2018. But I'm like, see, they can have that creativity to be kind of weird.
So the other side of that coin, though, that I'm seeing, that I don't know, it's going to be interesting if it continues to grow, and it'll be funny to see if people start to get pissed off about this. So because it's so free like that, one of the things they do is they can write in an idea, like a film or like a show like you're talking about right now, and they'll just put it out there without even the second or the third season written, right? Mm-hmm. And then they test it, and they see how well it scores, or how well it's being shared or watched or whatever. So what's happened to me is there's been shows that I actually really like that they cut after season 2.
Well, isn't that also that they're moving it, like you're mentioning Disney, like pulling a lot of their content? Like for me, it was The Punisher, and I really got into that show. It was awesome. And then I found out they cut funding towards that show, and they pulled it from Netflix, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? I was getting into that show.
Yeah, but I'm sure that Disney will...
Yeah, they're going to take it.
They'll take it and bring it. So I think that was just the process of Disney starting to pull all of their stuff off of Netflix, so Netflix isn't getting that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure if it was doing well, it'll do well there. But I'm wondering even about like these little small niche shows that you find, and you're like, oh, I really like this. It speaks to me. It's awesome. But it's only you and 40,000 other people.
Yeah.
And that's not enough to keep it...
It's not like a mega hit. It's just like,
so you get kind of like all excited, like, oh, I like this show. Like Red Oaks was like this.
That's how I feel about the Oakland A's. So there you go. I get real excited about these players, and they just fucking ship them off.
Well, you know what? Then it's just going to, they're just catering to their market and their views. And so you're going to like stuff that's a lot of people aren't going to like, and that's going to kind of suck, but whatever. Yeah. But you have the variety, and it gives them the flexibility to kind of do things that are a little bit here, a little bit there, a little weird.
You know what I was thinking about? Because streaming, it's taking over. Like Hollywood, you're already seeing that, and you brought that up. Like I was thinking about that because I was just at the movie theaters, and we were like sitting in these real comfortable chairs, that recline, you fold out, all that kind of. They're trying to make the movie experience, a little more high end. But I'm like, at one point, do they take a show like a Game of Thrones and they just show it in the movie theater? That'd be rad.
Yeah, I think that
how though? That'd be fucking 30,
you
40
just do
hours.
one like episode, and then you watch it like that. I don't know how it works. I'm just saying that like that's where all the content's going. So why wouldn't the theater pay attention to it?
Throw it right into it. That's a fucking 40-hour movie, bro.
you gotta get a lot of popcorn.
You gotta book a week off of work just to watch fucking Game of Thrones in the theater.
That reminds me of like what my daughter said the other day. She's like, Papa, what if they invented ice cream that was super healthy so you could eat it all the time? I'm like, well, that's nice, honey, but it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. I was just in the theater in the Prune Yard, and have you been to that theater?
Yeah.
Where you order food,
dude.
You order food, drinks. So I'm drinking alcohol in there. I'm having like,
I wish
the food's not bad. You didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
I had these carne asada tacos.
I didn't have that. So
they were good, dude.
Yeah, they have that in Scotts Valley. They have you could drink. They have a whole full bar and everything. It's great. It's great.
Oh, awesome.
I have mixed feelings on that. So I didn't care for the food very much. 2, you constantly have waiters running tables or running the whole time during the show. So it's a bit distracting. if you have a show that you're really into, and it's just like if you were to be sitting there and you constantly have somebody getting up, going to the bathroom all the time.
Oh, it's like that. So you actually have tables and it's like a restaurant.
Well, you're sitting in chairs.
You're sitting in recliner chairs, just like the one you're talking about, Justin, except for you have like a bigger, my little
desk thing. That
whatever the fuck you call that folds in front of you.
Fold up like side table.
Yeah, your
thing.
little TV fucking dinner thing, whatever that folds in front of you. Then you have a call button on your thing, and you hit it, and then that tells the waiter to come over to you, and then you take your order.
Oh, interesting.
So, and he comes over and he has like a little light to flash on the menu, and then he takes your order, and then they come back. So you got people whispering their orders and talking their orders during the thing. You got a waiter running food trays back and forth.
How many times have you been there?
I don't know, probably 6 or 7.
Oh, that many times?
Yeah.
I only did it once. And
I've been there quite a few times.
The waiters came. I only did it once. The waiters came mostly in the beginning. I didn't see too much, but I guess it sounds like it's different each time you might get.
Yeah, you're right. There's been times where it hasn't been that. There's been times when it annoyed me, and then times I didn't notice it very much. So
I'm going to take my kids there because I think they're going to have a great experience. Like, how fun would that be? And be like, hey, kids, guess where we're having dinner tonight?
Yeah, I think the kids would love it. I think this is me griping like an old man, right? Fucking. I know most kids probably don't mind that shit, but I like to. So I try and schedule movies when most people wouldn't be at the theater. Like Catrina and I will go at a weird Tuesday night and go watch movies because I know that's the least time that there's traffic in there, and I'll always wait until week 2 or 3 of a release because I don't like going on opening weekend because I don't even like the sound of everybody chomping their popcorn.
Yeah,
that's like it's weird to me. It just it makes my skin crawl here.
Yeah. Wow. Well, now you just fucked with everybody on the podcast.
Yeah.
Good job, Adam. Hey, everybody. This is annoying. But I did enjoy it. I think the kids will enjoy it. It's just interesting to see them scramble to figure out ways to fill seats because they're kind of fucked a little bit, right? Your at-home experience is now rivaling in terms of sound and quality.
Yeah, and the content's so much better.
Yep.
Well, you've seen the other things they do that I think is smart. Like they're hosting like UFC events. That's what
I mean. They're trying to scramble.
Or championship basketball games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to me, that's kind of cool. Like, I'm like, okay, I would normally go to my buddy's house. He would rent it for $60.
Yeah, I'd watch a UFC fight on a big screen. It'd be sick.
Yeah. So
and then it's a shared experience.
Yeah, and then exactly. People yell. That's where you want things to be loud, right? Or a sporting event, like that's cool.
Courtney and I went one time with my friend too. Like the Rio, I think, is the theater downtown in Santa Cruz, and they play like old classics sometimes. So we went and watched The Big Lebowski. And everyone was talking shit and throwing stuff, and it was a riot, dude. And like it was one of those where everybody's drinking a White Russian, and it's
that's fun.
Yeah, so there's ways that they can make like a group kind of experience out of it still, I'm sure, but it's going to change.
Do you think it'll continue to survive, or do you think it'll die eventually?
Oh, I think it'll be more of a novelty.
Yep. I think it's gonna slowly die as the experience becomes more. It's easier to have at home. It's cheaper. But I do think that it'll survive in some aspect. Like they're going to have to figure out how to get people to go somewhere, spend $50 or whatever.
I mean, when you think about it, the only thing that is keeping it alive is the fact that you got to go there.
That you can't wait.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because that would just instantly kill it.
That'd be done.
It'd be done.
Yeah.
If a movie you wanted to see came out and the same day I could pay for it streaming, dude.
Well, that's why they get so pissed when it leaks, right? And somebody like does they film it and then they distribute it. It like kills their whole business.
Just to show you how powerful Hollywood is too. You get caught doing that and they'll fuck you up big time. Like you get caught distributing
it's like
stuff.
a federal offense or whatever.
Yeah, like it's like a big deal because that shows you how powerful. I mean, I could go rob a liquor store right now.
Remember back in
not as bad.
video cassette days, the FBI warning at the very beginning?
FBI?
Yeah, it was
right.
an FBI warning on video cassette.
You copied it?
Yes.
Just did that?
Bro. It's to protect that industry. No, they're screwed. They have to figure it out because if these streaming services get better and better and their writing gets better and better and they start to rival movies, like what are you going to do? How are you going to pull people to your theater? Right now what they're banking on are series and these superhero movies. They're making a lot of money.
Yeah. That was, and I forget who we had on that was talking about that in terms of like
Jim Quick?
about overseas, like how they have to have like superhero movies because those do the best.
They translate overseas.
Yeah, because it's not about really the dialogue as much as it's about like the action, and action movies perform really well like internationally.
Yeah,
And which is probably the only reason why they're performing the way they are.
Yeah, and that's all you see. It's
Right.
like all hero. Like it's like, dude, it's too much.
When you hear about these movies breaking, like I told you guys, the sellout, how whatchamacallit broke the internet with
Avengers.
Endgame, Avengers Endgame.
But when you think about it, it's probably because it's worldwide, you know, and everybody is watching it all over the place. Where if you have something that's kind of targeted towards our culture, like nobody in Japan gives a fuck about that.
What's happening is if you want good writing, you go to streaming. If you want special effects and action and explosions, then you go to the movies.
Yeah.
Because you can't get good writing anymore. They don't bank on that anymore. It's too big of a risk to have
you're
good
right.
dialogue, good writing. It's big risk. People don't pay big money to go watch that kind of stuff.
You're not going to see a movie like Memento. Like that'll just be like a Netflix thing.
No, and it's at first I get sad about it because I'm like, damn it. But then I think, no, it's just a different. They're just going to move different. They're different platforms.
Yeah.
Because the writing on Netflix and HBO and Showtime and I mean, it's brilliant oftentimes, and they can spread the get real creative because they can do seasons of writing.
Have you guys noticed your own like habits? Like I know I was a major moviegoer.
Oh, I am huge.
I was a major moviegoer.
Yep.
And man, not anymore, man. Catrina and I love the fact that we have. I mean, I can run right downstairs to my garage. My DoorDash, I can time my DoorDash to be there by the time we start our movie. I've got the badass surround sound in there, you know. So and I could rent a movie. So even if I'm going through Apple, even if it's not my free streaming service, and I'm renting like a newer type movie, I just got to wait. You know, what is it? The 3-month lag time for it to hit my thing. It's costing me $13.99 or whatever, plus the food that I want delivered right to my door. You know, I'm out $30-$40 in the comfort of my home.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The only time I'm actually even going to the movies now is for the kids.
Yep.
If something's for the kids, or if it's a superhero driven movie, or like horror. Those are the only categories. Like horror is actually still really cool to go like to the movies because everybody's like
it's because
together.
It's because you get too scared at home.
Yeah,
let's be
you do.
honest. You feel safer in the
Called
theater.
out.
I tried to get you guys
Called
to
out.
watch that one movie, and you guys were like,
You know how I feel about scary movies.
Yeah,
dude.
I know.
I know.
It's so funny how you make fun of me for not wanting to go fly up in a jet at 9Gs, but you won't watch a scary movie on your couch.
Well, that's because there's difference. Okay, it's
Yeah,
different.
one can kill you. The
No,
other
no,
one's
no, no, no.
just
That-
smoke.
that's
Oh, no,
not-
it's fake.
that's
Physical
not why.
experience.
I watch movies because it's one of the things, and I don't know if this is just me. There's got to be somebody out there that can relate to this. Movies are
All the ladies out there.
one of the so sexist.
Tell me more.
So sexist. Movies are my way of shutting this brain of mine down that just is all over the map all day long. Like I'm in my head all the time, constantly. And when I watch a movie and I can get into a movie, it calms me down. It relaxes me. It's one of my favorite pastimes to relax and chill. When watching a movie, and it's a great analogy that you pair it to the jet thing, or watching a scary movie is like that for me, which I like roller coasters. I like scary jets that could almost die. But I don't like doing that with my movies. Don't fuck up my pastime that I've already figured out what I like. And so a scary movie fucks up that pastime for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you go into it knowing that's what you're going to do, like I'm going to watch something
It's
scary.
like an event.
Instead
Instead of like just consuming it.
Oh, you know what I do? Like if I'm home alone, which is rare, but if I'm home alone, that's the time when I'll do it. And I'll turn all the
By yourself?
Yes. I'll turn all the lights off. And the point for me, and it has to be good. It's got to be well written. If it's just jumping shit and bloody stuff, I'll turn it off. Like this.
I used to do that actually when I used to live with these guys. There was this game that we had that was like fucking scary. It was a scary, like suspenseful game where like zombies would jump out of windows at you randomly, and I would turn all the lights off, and like I was sitting there playing by myself, and somebody come home from work and be like, ah.
Oh, it's
just
great.
Jump.
That's what I do. I turn off all the lights. It's me by myself, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking feel disturbed after. And I know it's a good scary movie if I'm not the same for a couple
you like
days.
those really twisted, like I can't get a lot of that imagery out of my head kind of movies.
That's
like,
what
no
I mean.
thanks.
That's
dude.
what I mean. Like if I come
The
to work,
fuck is wrong with you?
Like if I come to work the next day and you guys are like, "What's wrong?" bro?"
No. Like I'm all about getting thrilled and like like I got a chainsaw and I'm running after you. Yeah, great. Not the ones that are just like
Dude,
hold me.
Hereditary did
like,
that. Hereditary got me.
Like I feel dirty.
I felt
I
a little.
wash
I
myself.
felt weird afterwards. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't feel normal.
Yeah, because not only do you fuck up my movie experience, then you fuck up my sleep that night.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I sleep.
I like lose hope for humanity after I watch those kinds of movies. I'm like, no.
Oh no, I sleep like a baby after watching that kind of stuff.
That's
Oh,
great.
the show I was talking about on Netflix is called On My Block. It's actually a pretty good show. Anyhow, I was having another thought, and I wrote this down this weekend. I was having a discussion with someone online, and they were asking me questions about, why recommend certain rep ranges, because studies will show that this one builds the most muscle and this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. And it really dawned on me the difference between somebody who has lots of knowledge of information versus somebody who just has lots of experience, which then, turns into wisdom. And so I thought to myself, how different Adam and Justin would answer this question versus a researcher. So I'll pose the question for you, and then I'm going to tell you how the researcher would answer, and I know exactly how you guys would answer. So if I were to talk to a fitness researcher, and I were to say to them, hey, which rep range builds the most muscle, 5 reps or 20 reps, they're going to spout off what the research shows. The research shows that 20 reps, if performed to failure, may build more muscle. I know exactly how you guys are going to respond. And the way you guys would respond is, well, who are we asking for?
Yeah, it depends. Like, give me all the background.
Yeah, exactly.
How have they been training? What have they not been training?
What's the context?
Yeah.
And this is why it's so important, especially for fitness professionals out there, to communicate information, but also combine it with your wisdom and understand the context. And for people who are seeking fitness information, always remember that a study reflects what happened in those conditions to those particular types of individuals. Does not necessarily apply to you with your history and your past and all that stuff.
So funny you went this direction, because I literally got an email from one of my clients, and she sent it over to me, and she says, great read, check this out. And it's an article that is making the, God, I'm trying to find it right now so I could share it on this podcast, but I'll go ahead and summarize it and hope I don't massacre it. But it basically is saying the benefits of HIIT. And they did this, they took this study of groups from 30 years old to 40 years old, and then above 50 years old, and they actually measured on a cellular level what's happening and changing. And it's again what I see right away when I see them, okay, we're totally overcomplicating something that is a very simple way to look at this. And I can already, halfway through it, I'm reading, I'm I already know they're trying to make an argument by the way that they're formulating the study. And it gets people like my very intelligent clients. These are very intelligent clients of mine that send this stuff, and when you read it, it sounds very smart the way it's put. And the way the case they're making is how important it is for somebody who's, as they age, to be pushing and doing this high intensity type of training. And
the context matters so much in that.
Well, and not only that, but and here's the challenging part. It's really good. And a lot of it is all truth.
Yeah.
But it's not the whole story. And that was my...
Does that really apply to this person that's asking you?
Well, and my response to her was, there's a lot of truths in this study that I think that's important, but there's more to the story. And I said, you have to take into consideration that when they do something like this and they make this case, they're always doing it in a 4 to 6 week window. And it's because they have to control it, right? And one of the ways to control it is putting it in a time frame, splitting the age groups, and saying
you only have so much money for this study,
right? And so here's where I'm going with this. So the study basically was making this case for why HIIT training is so important, and they're recommending that you're doing HIIT training 3 times a week for older population.
Terrible,
right? And their whole angle is the importance of pushing and stressing the body at those higher levels to basically create new fresh cells that regenerate and strengthen.
Here's the key in that: pushing your body to adapt is very different from person to person. And I can tell you 100% honesty, of all the 40-year-old people that I've trained, a large chunk of them, HIIT training would have been completely inappropriate. It would have been totally disastrous for them to do it. They would have been fine for 4 weeks, and then it would have caused problems.
Not exactly. And this is and so they compared it to just strength training, then HIIT training, and then a combination of both, and what all happened, all of it. And at the end of the study, obviously, Doing all of it, bits of all of it would be most ideal, but even at bare minimum, doing at least HIIT 3 times a week was like the case they tried to make. And I said, well, here's the thing. That's in a 6-week window. What I know from training clients for a very long time at all ages is that I could make the case that strength training is just pure strength training is superior long term because of what you're going to build muscle wise. Also, the fact that if you push the body at this high intensity level, the body eventually adapts to no matter what we throw at it. So if you stretch yourself doing HIIT 3 times a week, and that's what gives you these great results in this 4 to 6 week window, what do you have to do in order to continue to see more results? And is that building a stronger, faster metabolism, or is that a quicker, faster way to burn more calories? So there's a lot of other factors that are going into play here, and to isolate just one modality of training and say it's superior than another is not telling the full story.
It's also not considering the individuals that we're talking about. I could have 2 different individuals and I could do a full assessment, know about their history of exercise and all that stuff. And one of them, HIIT training will be very appropriate and give them great results. And the other person, it'll be the exact wrong thing that they could possibly do. It will not only hurt them, but it may actually produce hormonal issues or just overstress their already stressed body. That's why it's so important, and that's why I brought up what I said was a researcher is just going to answer to you. Oh, the research shows this rep range builds the most muscle. Somebody with experience is going to say, who are we talking about? What was their exercise
let's
history?
collect the entire story.
That's it, and that's the only way you could get an accurate answer to something like that. It makes a huge difference. Actually, it makes all the difference.
Yes.
And this is the big problem I have with the researcher PhD fitness types who come out and talk all about the studies. They completely negate the person that you're working with on the other side.
Oh, and then like a bunch of assholes, we all end up, arguing with each other, who's more right, and trying to prove each other wrong with other studies, when in reality, everyone's right and everybody's fucking wrong. It just depends on who we're talking to. And that to me, and I know that frustrates some people because I see it in our feedback on our show sometimes, is that we get teased a little bit about when we answer some of our questions. We tend to lead with, well, it depends. And then we go into this talk and it's like, Mind Pump can't ever give like a straight answer. Well, it's because it never is a fucking straight answer.
Impossible. Just
because all the study and the research shows something. And that's another thing too, is like, that's such a very, even thousands of people in a study group is still a very small,
think about this
percentage.
There's few people that actually consider like holistically all the systems of the body. And so when you start to compartmentalize it and really zero in on that one thing that you think is going to make the biggest difference and improvement, it may affect the other systems of the body adversely.
That's right. And fitness is not a 4, 6 week, 12 week, 12-month process.
It's a lifetime thing.
Fitness is forever. And here's the other thing. I mean, this is a very simple example. Think of the kinds of people that sign up for a study on HIIT training. Think about that for a second. Where do the people get the subjects to test? Do they go out in the street and just pull someone and say, fuck it?
Self-selection.
There's self-selection going on. Now, what kind of person is going to sign up for a study? First of all, somebody who's got time to do a study. So they're probably not super stressed out individuals. Yeah. They don't have a hammered schedule, so they got the time to do a study. They're also interested in doing a fitness study. There's a little bit of a self-selection bias that's going on there.
And they're even capable of doing HIIT.
That's right. Because what they don't do is they don't tell you the people that dropped out. Right. Because whenever you do a study, there's always people that drop out. And if not too many people drop out, well, they just kind of take that out and we don't know what ended up happening. But let's say 38 people signed up for this and 5 of them are like, I can't do this. This hurts my joints. We're not going to talk about those 5 people.
We're not going to consider them.
Right.
Yeah,
so
those numbers don't count.
This is all stuff. Look, here's another good example. Let's say I released a study that showed that supplementing with 5,000 IUs of vitamin D dramatically improved the health of 100 people who did my study. And that was all you read. And everybody's like, oh shit, this study's conclusive. Let's go take 5,000 IUs of vitamin D. But then when you look deeper, you realize that every single person in the study was deficient in vitamin D, which is why they had such tremendous health gains from taking vitamin D. If you're not deficient, you're going to get no benefit. You see this with supplements all the time. Testosterone boosters are my favorite. When you look at testosterone boosters, they show, hey, this testosterone booster raised testosterone 23% in men, but when you look a little closer, these are men who had low testosterone and had health issues as a result of, and the supplement brought their testosterone up to normal. When you give it to regular health men with normal testosterone levels, does jack shit, doesn't boost anything.
Right. Yeah.
These are all the things that you want to pay attention when you're looking at these things, and that's, I think, where experience comes into play, which is why oftentimes we say it depends. But I will say this, there are general truths that we stick to. They're just general. Everything else that's specific is down to the individual. So anyway, but I was going to ask you, Adam, about how everything was going at home with Catrina and the baby, and is she having cravings like crazy? Is she? She was saying the other day she wasn't sleeping very. She said she gets up to pee as much as you do now.
Yeah. So that's been
those are exact words.
That's been funny because I'm notorious for that. I definitely get up 2 to 3 times a night to go to the restroom, and so it's funny that we pass each other now. So one of us will wake the other one up, not intentionally, just
do kind of a head nod, like.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm even like it's funny because I've bumped into her a few times, like trying to walk to the bath in the dark. We're in the dark walking to the bathroom, so. And I hear her up, and I have to go. And in the past, I would get up and try and go head that way when I hear her coming back. But now you got to wait. I wait till she climbs in the bed, then I go that way, so I don't trip over the dogs or trip over her. So yeah, that's kind of been this. And I've never had to share my bathroom time in the middle of the night, so this has become a little bit of a new thing.
It's a bit of a dance.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, it's a little bit of a dance now. So that's been new. She's been consistent with the pickle thing, and she always says like, "Hon, I don't know why you keep telling people I had this pickle addiction now." I'm like, "Honey." We'd have a kosher dill pickle thing. We always have pickles in our house. I like pickles. She likes pickles. But that one jar of pickles would last probably months in our at least a month, where she's crushing a pickle jar every 2 days or so. So I'm like, I said you're eating more than normal, which is fine. I'm not razzing her. I'm just saying that's probably her.
That's a craving.
Yeah, it's her biggest craving that I've seen is that, although. Last night, and this is the second time now. The new skinny dipped, the mint
chocolate ones,
bro,
mine have been disappearing too.
They are.
I think those are popular.
Well, they're my favorite for sure.
I love them.
And I think the other night was the first time that she had been introduced to them, and I keep them in the freezer now.
You should just destroy the bag.
Oh yeah. And the dangerous part was, so I took home. We got the case from Skinny Dip the other day, and they typically send us. A bunch of boxes that we can keep here in the studio for ourselves, which are all the mini packs, which is what I recommend to the listener. And then they have like the big pouch ones, which are like, I think it's somewhere between 700 calories if you were to eat the whole thing.
Several servings in there.
Yeah, there's several servings in there. And I don't have this self-control. Not when I'm watching TV, so I love having the little bags. So what I did is I took all the big bags home because I left the little ones here at the studio.
You took them all, huh?
Well, not all of them.
Most of them.
No, I didn't take all.
It's all right. You got a baby coming.
Yeah,
so you get to do all that.
So I'm ziplocking and portioning out the bigger bags because it's otherwise.
Are you weighing like how many ounces and stuff?
Yeah, because it tells you. So each bag is, I think it has 3 to 5. I can't remember off the top of my head how many servings are each in one of the main bags, and then I'm just dividing it up. So, we're getting a serving versus eating all 5 servings in one sitting because they're a bit addictive.
What do we have for dinner?
That can happen.
Yeah. Skinny dipped almonds.
Yeah, that's definitely been one of her favorite. But for the most part, she's been really good. We had pizza for the first time since she's been pregnant, and she had mentioned wanting it like a couple weeks back, and I was like, I wasn't really feeling it, and she wasn't like hard craving it. She was like, well, I'll have it when we have it. We went back and visited my best friend and his mom, and they all wanted to go out to some Italian pizza restaurant place, and so we had some there. But then she didn't feel good afterwards. She's just like, anytime I eat off the radar or eat off my healthy food, what she's loving too. I think I shared this the last commercial we did for a smoothie box. Is we're making the shit out of those popsicles. That works really well. I mean, that's been a nice like healthy.
See,
treat.
I wish I would have had all this because I remember when Courtney was having cravings and she was pregnant, like she wanted one of those from Dairy Queen, those
Blizzard?
like, blizzards
Oh,
so bad. Like that was all she could think about. And then I finally caved in. I'm like, okay, so it was somewhere the only one we could find was in San Jose. And of course, all my clients are in San Jose. And I'm like, dude, I just hope I don't see anybody. I'm like in there, we're eating one of them. And of course, one of my clients walks in. And so it's like at that awkward moment, you're like, hey, what are you doing here? And then they're like, hey, what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, Courtney had a craving.
It's like running into your aunt at the sex toy shop. You know what I'm talking about?
It was awkward.
That hasn't happened.
That hasn't happened. But
That's fucking weird.
I feel bad for you.
This quaz brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's Organifi.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout.
All right, our first question is from Jack Fowler 88. To break through a plateau in my training, should I change up the exercises I'm doing or just change the number of reps I do?
Either one of them will change things up and could potentially break through a plateau. But to make this fun, what do you guys think would be more effective breaking the plateau?
I like to do both together. I feel like it's a bigger bang for your buck, right? It's you're changing two major variables at the same time, and so I feel like I get a greater response with that. Now, I've done almost everything under the sun where I'll change just one variable, whether it be time, whether it be reps, whether it be exercises, and what I like to do is combine one or two variables every time that I switch a phase or change something out, because I feel like I get the greatest return when I do that.
Yeah, I think for me, like, I will change one variable just to be consistently sort of like ahead of a plateau. Like, so I want to make sure, like, yeah, but if I feel like I'm kind of in a rut, I will change more variables at once. So I'll do 2 to 3 different things to make sure that my body's going to start responding again in a different way.
To that point, Justin, that you're making me think of something right now too. Is like it also back to it depends. It also depends. It also depends.
We should start wearing depends,
right? It depends on where I'm at in my training and how consistent I am. So me saying that I changed 2 variables. That's me being consistent at them. I've been training for quite some time, 6 times a week, and I've been very like, this is what I would do when I was competing days. Very, very good. Right now, I'm so inconsistent that I wouldn't change 2 variables. I would just change one.
Well, so right now, breaking your plateau would just be consistent.
Right.
Yeah.
No, true. That's
totally.
That's what my point I'm trying to make is that I don't need to throw a bunch at it right now because I haven't even been weight training very consistently. So the variable change doesn't need to be that much. But I feel like the more consistent and the more I've been throwing at my body, the more I need to kind of vary to feel significant change or difference every time I go into a new phase.
I think if you're really experienced and you are experienced with exercises and you can get into the form easily and you know your body well, then change both. But for a lot of lifters who don't have tons of experience, it might be better just to change one, because going from, let's say, low reps to high reps and changing exercises might be so much that it's a lot for the person to get used to and they can't maximize each thing. But just to make things fun, if you had to pick just one, which one do you think people would gain the most benefit from?
Changing exercises or reps?
Yeah, if you had to change just...
Oh, exercise for sure.
You think so?
Oh, 100%.
So keep the reps the same?
I don't even think that's a debate. I think that the difference between a barbell back squat and a Bulgarian split stance squat is so incredibly different that you could do the exact same rep range and your body will see...
Or even a front squat versus a back
Right, that's
squat.
what I mean. The exercises can be... so. Now, okay, again, depends.
Yeah, because
it depends on how close the exercise is related, right? Because the difference between squatting 5 reps and then you decide all of a sudden you're going to go and do like, let's say you were barbell back squatting and then you go to dumbbell squatting. Like, the difference of that exercise and anything, the difficulty of the two.
Well, they'd have to match, like the intensity or like whatever it's providing. Like, so like a backloaded, you mentioned like a dumbbell squat, you're not going to get the same kind of response.
Yeah, see, I would typically recommend, depending on the person, but for a lot of people, I would recommend just changing the reps, because it takes a long time to get really fucking good at certain exercises.
Well, again, that's
you know what I'm saying.
Again, you have to give me some more context on who am I talking to me?
No, someone like you, change both.
Right.
You have enough experience that you can change exercises.
Yeah, I've done all those exercises 100 times over, and so my mechanics on all of them, it takes me 2 reps to get into like the form
well,
of it.
and to your point of like, consistency being the one that's like, taking you out of the plateau of not being consistent, I think the general public would probably benefit more from one variable because then they're still honing in on this new thing.
Exactly. Like you think of the average lifter who's been working out for a year or two. Do I want to take them out of back squats, deadlifts, and rows? Probably, maybe not. Maybe what I'm going to do is say, okay, let's mess with the rep ranges, work on endurance, maybe work within the form of that particular exercise. So instead of going so low with your squat, now that you're lighter, maybe you can go a little bit lower and do more repetitions.
I like that. Under 2 years. I like that.
Yeah.
Under 2 years, if you've been training, stick with the core movements or the core exercises that you're doing,
adjust the reps.
and adjust the reps. If you're somebody who's 3 years to 5 years, maybe change both variables. If you're somebody beyond that, you can have lots of fun with it. I mean, I think that's the more advanced you get, the more variables I would say you can play with at the same time.
Then you start looking at unconventional shit like me. It's
and what you'll find, and here's a good gauge of whether or not you're gonna something you're doing is going to be good for breaking through a plateau, is when you change the variable, how bad did you suck at it? So like if I do barbell squats all the time and I go do a Bulgarian split stance squat and I have to go way down on the weight. Sometimes I have to go to body weight. It's a new exercise. I have no stability or control in it. I'm not able to generate as much force. Now I got to go to body weight. I know that the upswing is going to be real high.
Right.
Because how often do you get the opportunity to gain 10 or 15 pounds of strength in an exercise on a weekly basis, especially after you've been working out for a few years?
No, it's
very, very low. But when I do a new exercise and I do it and I'm like, wow, I suck at this, I know I'm going to see very fast
There's going to be a
improvement.
lot of improvement there.
Exactly. So when you go into a new modality and you're like, here's another one. Like I trained for a long time in low rep ranges. I got stuck there for a while. I had a lot of fun doing it. And I remember at one point, I'm like, my joints were sore and I'm like, okay, it's time for me to work in the higher rep range. And I said, I'm going to go 15 to 20, which is really high compared to where I was. And I remember I had to back way down the weight and I get super exhausted. Like one set and I'm like, my God, I'm dying right now. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be good because I suck at this. So I have all this room to improve. And sure enough, it was great progress in terms of, breaking through a plateau. So I would say look at all the variables. If you're newer in your lifting, just pick one. If you're more advanced, you can go ahead and go for 2.
Next question is from Brendan Wilson, 97. How can meditation help your gains in the gym?
I think, and we're talking specifically about meditation, but I'm going to make it broad.
Like parasympathetic and sympathetic.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about, prioritizing your body's ability to relax, repair, recover, be not distracted, get good sleep, that kind of stuff. I think that's the most underrated, yet one of the most powerful things people can do. Studies, by the way, are backing this up now. Studies are showing now that when people incorporate some kind of a mindful meditative practice in their weight loss journey, that their bodies burn more body fat.
Well, it's honestly like the most challenging thing right now in our current environment in modern world. To be able to, remove yourself from all the stimulus and all the potential stressors that we face all day long. So it's at the highest priority right now in terms of like trying to gain strength and recover.
Yeah, well, think about it this way, right? So if you're in this, because your body doesn't really decipher between, stresses. Like a stress is a stress on the body. It's either a lot of stress or a moderate or a low amount of stress. And a lot of the stress that we go through in modern societies is this kind of low to moderate constant stress. So we don't get the same like, oh shit, volcano exploded, or oh my God, there's a lion chasing
a raptor going to eat me.
Yeah, you're not.
I'm going way back.
Before humans existed.
Yeah.
But we don't really experience a whole lot of that, but we have kind of this low to moderate level of constant, consistent stress. And when your body's stressed out, this is the state that it's in. So let me paint the picture for you. When your body's stressed, remember this, for most of human civilization, low to moderate constant levels of stress probably meant that you didn't have food. It probably meant that you were struggling to find stability in your shelter, and food, because high levels of stress meant, oh fuck, I'm going to die, something's killing me. Moderate levels of stress were like, oh my gosh, let's figure out this food situation. That was one of the biggest problems that humans had for a long time. And so in that stressed situation or environment, your body, which evolved most of the time having to deal with not having food, is thinking to itself, okay, we're moderate levels of stress, probably means that we're not around a consistent supply of food. Let's store more calories. Let's prevent ourselves from building a lot of muscle, because muscle is expensive and it burns more calories. Let's set ourselves up to survive this moderate level of stress. Your body doesn't know that you're just working a lot of hours, not getting good sleep, and working out too hard. So what ends up happening is your body adapts less. It becomes less effective at adapting. You actually build muscle at a slower rate, and you burn body fat at a much slower rate. Everything stops matching. The hormones aren't ideal for fat burning and muscle building. Instead, they're ideal for stress and for quick energy burn. The way your body assimilates food, your inflammatory response, all these things are not ideal for you getting to your goals. And so what we're finding is that when people do their workout, nutrition, and incorporate some kind of a practice to bring their body into more of that parasympathetic type state, their bodies just react better. And I'm not even talking about how much easier it is to eat healthy when you're not in a constant state of stress. Because most of us who eat terribly or don't make good food choices are doing so because we're medicating with food. We're either trying to distract ourselves, or we're sad, or we're stressed, or we're anxious, and we're feeding ourselves. And think about it, when you're in a very calm, relaxed, self-aware state, the strength and motivation that you have to eat foods that are good for you versus reaching for something that's going to give you that immediate, hedonistic pleasure is much better. It's also easier to stay consistent with your workouts. You have better energy for your workouts. Just across the board, I think this is the missing piece. I really do.
Well, I think this message is going to gain traction in the bodybuilding, the aesthetic world really quick, because I think that, to your point, Sal, that right now we don't count sitting on our laptop, at the coffee shop, plugging away on your computer as a stress. We don't count sitting on our phone, with our feet up on the couch and, scrolling through Instagram and reading the comments that someone said about you and how you look goofy, or going back and forth with an argument on somebody's. We don't think that's stress. But our body doesn't, like you said, to your point, doesn't know the difference. Like, it doesn't know the difference if that's a low level of stress or not. And so I think that the more we start to piece that together, the more this message of having these scheduled bouts of time that you don't do anything like that, where, it can be meditation. It doesn't necessarily, and I think we have always had this image of some guy with his legs crossed and folded and, kumbaya and trying to and
wearing those poncho pants.
Right. I think that way of thinking is we're beyond that. And I think it could be something just as simple as lying out on a beach and just looking into the clouds and letting the sun hit you and watching the waves crash, or taking a hike like you do with your kids back in nature and look at a creek, running creek water and stuff like that. Like, these practices don't need to be so hippie yoga meditation like, but I think the practices of disconnecting from all these other outside sources that cause these low levels of stress in our life, I think that this message is going to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes me think too of the questions about like building muscle, and for me, like, we've talked to even high level bodybuilders, like, what's the secret? What are they doing, like, over in Kuwait or wherever, Dubai, and like they're just like, no, they're just eating, sleeping, training, and repeat, and undistracted.
Right,
and that's the formula. It's like there's none of this like outside influence and things pulling you left and right, and it's dedicated training in the right dose, and then also the sleep that's going to match it to recover.
Did you know that you can predict somebody's long-term survivability or their risk factors for all-cause mortality more accurately by looking at their social network than if they smoked? Did you know it makes a bigger impact?
What do you mean? Explain that.
So if somebody's isolated, doesn't have a lot of friends, doesn't really have good, deep, meaningful connections, that's a greater risk to your health than smoking cigarettes. This has been established.
Oh, wow.
So these things make a massive difference. Unplugging, becoming less distracted, becoming present, focusing on kind of what's important and meaningful, which is the people around you, your relationships with them, enjoying those things. Watch what happens to your body, to your ability both to stick to your nutrition, be consistent with your training, but also the physiological response. Because I'm talking about the psychological and the physiological. The psychological in the sense that it makes it easier. Look, I've worked with lots of clients, okay? I know when I have clients that are super stressed out, to get them to eat right is so much harder. They want more alcohol. They want more sugar. They want more processed food. It's just much, much more difficult. When they're relaxed about it and everything's cool, it's much easier for them to make those good decisions. Mm-hmm. But we're also finding that there's a physiological response as well from being in these kind of low levels of constant stress, where the body literally doesn't want to adapt as well as it would if it felt like it could. Like it could prioritize a little bit of muscle building and some fat loss. Like, watch what happens. It makes that big of a difference, to the point now where the people I even work with, the few people I work with online, this is a big part of their coaching. And I figured this out the last few years, of my training. It makes that big of a difference. The evidence is already there. So I'd say definitely put this in your routine. And, here's the other thing. I was reading that book. You asked me about the book I was reading earlier. And Ben Shapiro on there said that one of his favorite parts of the week, because when if you follow like Jewish, tradition and custom and religion, there's like a 25-hour period where you're supposed to not use any modern technology or electronics.
Which is brilliant.
And he said, because he's such a workaholic and stuff, he's like, that's my favorite time of the week. I turn everything off. I have a book on my lap. I'm watching my kids play. I'm talking to my wife or I have my family over. He said, that's my favorite time of the week. And it's only improved his productivity. It hasn't taken anything away. And I think that's a big deal. And now you look at kids and the anxiety and stress that kids are starting to exhibit and the depression. I think that they just don't have any fucking boredom. They have no quiet time. Everything's constantly preoccupied.
They don't even know how to navigate in that space.
It's painful. You ever watch a kid try and be bored today?
Oh my God.
It's
crawl in the corner and put their face on the ground.
And I look at my kids. I'm like, I used to be bored all the time. I used to figure shit out. Go figure something out.
Yeah. Look at stuff.
Yeah. My son will take a nap. like I'll tell him no electronics. And so he'll go to sleep because he's trying to make the time he doesn't have electronics go by faster. You know what I mean? By the time I wake up, it'll be. So it's like I got to make more rules.
It's gonna go slower, man.
You have to be awake. You have to. What do I do now?
You have to be awake.
Next question is from Thunder Coffer. Is it best to cycle on and off creatine? If so, with what frequency?
Studies will show that taking creatine consistently is fine, builds more muscle. It's got some antioxidant properties. It's healthy for certain types of individuals. I still think it's a good idea to cycle anything that you take at all. I think whatever adaptations your body goes through, whatever, your body synthesizes creatine as well. And
we get it in steak.
Yeah.
So if you're eating a ton of steak, your body synthesizes it, and on top of that, you're taking it. You would think that your body would downregulate the ability to uptake all of it because you're flooding it with all this creatine, right?
Yeah, or maybe make less. I don't know. Like it sounds to me like look. I found cycling my protein intake to be beneficial for my gains. I never would have thought that before. I always thought you had to have high protein all the time. And I remember throwing in my first low protein days and coming back and being so sensitive to the protein that I noticed progress and gains from it. And I find this with all herbs too. There's certain herbs that I'll take that have, like ashwagandha is a great herb. I love taking ashwagandha. I can tell when I take it, I notice a difference. I recover better. I have better sleep and better, focus. But if I take it for 60 days and past, I stopped noticing anything.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't really think of any nutrient that I'm going to ingest where I'm not going to consider that. Like if I'm overwhelming my body with this, nutrient, constantly flooding my body with it, where I could, my body be more receptive towards it if I abstain from it for a bit. Like it's just, I don't know. It just seems maybe it's too logical. Maybe there's something out there that's like you constantly need it to survive, and you're always trying to stuff your face with it. But like water, maybe, but that's about it. Like it's just. That's just the body adapts. It adapts to most things, and that's how you got to kind of consider all these things.
So what do you think about it? I think the approach that I would have, I would assume, and this is just me, I have no idea, or I can't support this, maybe Sal, because you're the study guy, is probably most studies on creatine that show how amazing creatine is, which we all agree it is.
That's the best single supplement, ergogenic supplement that's out there.
But most of them probably are done over a 6-week period of time, because that's probably what shows the most benefit is when you use it. So probably cycling every 4 to 6 weeks, I would probably think is a decent strategy.
Sounds reasonable.
It's the most studied ergogenic supplement that's out there. So there's literally hundreds of peer-reviewed studies on creatine. This is why we recommend it. It's extremely studied. It shows cognitive benefits for some populations. If you're older, probably really good for you. Can help prevent muscle loss, and it's got some antioxidant properties for the heart and all that stuff. But yeah, the studies, even the long ones, are months long, and then they have studies that are like years long. But really, those are surveys. So you're right, Adam. There's really it's hard to what I recommend people do is take creatine post-workout on the days you work out. So if you work out 5 days a week, I work out about 5 to 6 days a week. I take creatine 4 or 5 days a week post-workout, and I only take 2 to 3 grams. I don't do the 5 to 10 grams.
Well, I was going to say, this is, contrary to what like the label is going to tell you to like overwhelm your body and do this loading phase, kind of so your body starts to, get more receptive towards it.
The loading is such bullshit.
Yeah.
What they found with studies is if you load, you're going to top off your ATP stores in your muscle faster than if you just took a consistent amount. But it's not that much faster. And really, they recommend 20 grams a day to load. That's a lot of wasted supplement, if you ask me.
Well, not only that, I forget what the how many ounces of steak that you need to get 2 to 3 grams of creatine, and it's not that ridiculous. I mean, some people eat that in a day or two worth of eating, so I forget what the number was.
I'll look it
but
up.
if you're somebody if you're a major steak eater, I'm a heavy red meat eater, so I eat quite a bit. So I really don't supplement with creatine that often. Now, we have it in the studio all the time, and so I will play with it occasionally. I'll put it into my right after a workout, like Sal was saying. But I typically go towards it when I know that if I've been on this kick of white meat where I'm eating a lot of chicken and a lot of fish, and I'm not getting a lot of red meat, to me, that's when I kind of signal myself to do it.
So 5 grams of creatine is 2 pounds of beef or 3 pounds of chicken a day.
That's nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, to a guy like you, of course.
Right. I mean, that's not crazy. That's not that crazy. Most people that are trying to build muscle and
just take like a few grams, and if you're a big person with lots of muscle, you maybe need a little bit more because you've got more creatine stores. Here's the people that benefit the most from creatine supplementation.
Vegans.
Big time. Yeah. Vegans have huge upswing because they don't consume any from animal products.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So even if you're not, so at that same point you're making with vegans benefit the most, I think the people that would benefit the least are somebody who eats a lot of chicken and steak on a pretty regular basis. You're going to see the least amount of benefits. Mm-hmm. So if you're a big chicken and steak eater, I don't see that much value in adding lots of creatine. I think it is the best supplement out there, so why not play with it here and there? I wouldn't run it consistently every day for longer than 4 or 6 weeks.
It's also one of those supplements that it's inexpensive nowadays. You can get good quality powdered creatine for pretty good price. Back when it first came out, it was super expensive. It's a pretty good price now. And you'll know if it's doing something for you within 3 to 6 weeks. You'll know. Like, you'll take it, and the scale will go up between 1 to 3 pounds because you're going to be storing more intramuscular water. Not the same thing as bloat. Your muscles are just fuller. And you'll know in the gym. You'll just feel stronger.
You feel that extra rep in there.
Exactly. You get between 1 to 3 extra reps. Yeah. And so if you feel that, then okay, creatine benefited. If you took it and you're not getting anything, then I would say don't take it. But vegans who supplement with creatine get a boost in cognition on top of it consistently. They get their IQ goes up a little bit because they're depleted of creatine because of their diets. So if you're a vegan, I highly recommend try a little bit of creatine for a few weeks and see if it benefits you, because the odds are it probably will.
Next question is from More Jojo. What was one of the most unhealthy behaviors of a client of yours? How did you help them change it? And were they successful in maintaining the change?
Oof. Unhealthiest behaviors of clients. I've had some bad ones.
I'm going to give one that I don't think that it's probably going to ruffle some feathers here. And the reason why I think it's one of the most unhealthy behaviors is because I think it's one of the hardest things for me to break in clients. And that it goes back to what we've talked about earlier in this episode. And getting somebody who is a high performer, adrenaline junkie, convincing them away from this high intensity type of training is by far one of the hardest things as a trainer, because it's tough to tell somebody who feels the rush that they feel after they train. And when they see, like, they're either inconsistent, they're not lifting and training and dieting well, and they're going about their crazy life. And then they decide, okay, summer's around the corner and I'm going to pick up my favorite boot camp class. I'm going to start my diet. And they see good change. They see change in their body, the way they feel after they crush a workout, and they feel amazing. And then they never get to their goal. And so they eventually break down and hire somebody like me. And then here I have to break all of these habits and convince them that this feeling or the things that they did in the past are not the best approach. And so this tends to be a vicious cycle. It's hard. I used to have to get you to commit to me and like pay for training for like a year for me to show and like be like convince them, like, listen, I need you to trust me. It's going to take some time to reverse a lot of this stuff and this thought process that you've gone about going your training and eating and how you treat exercise right now and change that behavior. And I have to be honest, I think that I've lost more battles than I've won. And when I see things like the rise of Orange Theory, I see the explosion of CrossFit all over the world, and I know the average person, I just know it's not for the average person. Does it mean that it's not okay for? No, there's a percentage of people it's fucking great for, and it's not me just constantly bashing on those modalities. But to be honest, it's one of the most unhealthy behaviors I've ever came across, and it's one of the hardest things for me to break and change. And inevitably, that person gets old, and that person just fucking gives up and just thinks that exercise is a thing for young people, and they have that to me is one of the most unhealthy behaviors that leads to a very unhealthy older body down the road.
It's hard because when you're talking to a client like that, you're trying to tell someone, don't work as hard to get better results. And this is a person who identifies with working hard and busting their ass.
And it's always done good things.
And it's worked for them. That's why they're successful. That's why they're whatever. And on top of it, all they're hearing about fitness besides you is work hard, be consistent,
no days off,
train harder, sweat, and they're thinking, well, this makes what you're saying to me makes no sense.
Right.
This is you're right, Adam. That is one of the most difficult conversations to have,
Totally.
and I have not been very successful convincing people. But the ones that did listen to me were forever converts.
Right. If you can change that behavior, you do save them. But the percentage I save is much smaller than the ones that I lose, because the other uphill battle is that they feel great. I mean, I know I've done a CrossFit workout. I've done an Orange Theory workout. Fucking A, it feels, you walk out of there drenched in sweat, endorphins flying, and it's like cortisol through the roof. It's like, fuck yeah. And then then you have trainer Adam over here going, these aren't the best thing for you. Fuck you.
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's cardio for me, and having, people understand that it's not benefiting their goal, like in terms of like their aesthetic goal, their muscular development goal. Like, this is competing with our progress, and to drill that into somebody's head is insanely tough.
And you're talking about people who overdo cardio, not just cardio in general.
Yeah, well, because of the fact that like we're now adding like adding in weights is like an add-in to their routine of like always having to move and burn calories and like do a lot of the type of same things Adam's kind of bringing up in terms of always seeking that feeling and that like I'm breaking a sweat. So this is more of the people that have to break a sweat. And they have to feel that their heart rate is just beating through this entire workout. And so every workout that, I would take somebody through, a lot of times I'd have clients that, I mean, they were like, okay, what's next? And they just could not ever get rest. They couldn't get that concept of it.
I'm so glad that we went this direction with this conversation. I had no idea which direction either one of you were going to go, is because I know people listening right now are going, oh my God, come on, you guys. You mean to tell me, what about the coke heads? What about somebody who eats cheeseburgers 3 times, or he goes to McDonald's 3 times a day? What about the person that's drinking alcohol?
That's all obvious.
Well, yeah.
And they know that's wrong.
Exactly. That's just it. They fucking know. Those people come to you and they hire you, and they're like, they lay it on the table. Adam, I'm addicted to these things. Adam, I have this problem and issue. So it's not the unhealthiest behavior, because they already know. Yeah. The first step to getting somebody or changing their behaviors is them first being conscious and aware that their behaviors are bad.
Yep, and the person who's coming to you who overworks and works out too much is coming to you for more of that.
Yes.
They're hiring me and they're like, yeah, I need a hard workout.
Yeah, it's all predetermined. Yep. So to break that, thought in their head of what the experience has to be was the most challenging, bar none of somebody just wants to lose weight, or somebody that's going to be more receptive towards you sort of leading the workout.
Yeah, no, I had a client once who was like that, and she ran, I don't know, it's like 40 miles a week and did Pilates classes, and she did lots of these cardio circuit training classes, and then on top of it, she hired me to train her a couple days a week, and she counted all of her calories. Mm-hmm. And she wore one of those body bugs to measure her steps and how many calories she was burning. And it was a slow, long process. And I used to explain to her, like, you're doing too much. And I think what happens is these clients, when you tell them you're doing too much, they think you're just like, it's almost like your mom telling you, like, you got to wear a sweater. And you're like, okay, of course my mom's going to say that, but I don't need to wear a fucking sweater.
It's so much like that, Sal, and I know someone's listening. I know the fuck you know who I'm talking. I'm talking to you right now because I know I got clients like this, that they nod their head to me, they say yes, and then they go behind my back and they do fucking...
Because they think you're just trying to be overcautious, or, he's just worried about me. He's saying what he needs to.
He thinks I can't handle it.
Exactly. It's not that you can't handle it, you dumb shit. It's that it's actually not benefiting you. Yeah. I know what your goals are, and you're not going to get to your goals any better or faster if you. And so I used to have this conversation with this young lady, and it was constant. We would sit there and talk about it. She's like, "But I'm burning this many calories. I'm doing this many. If I stop doing all this activity, I'm not going to burn these calories. I'm just going to get super fat." And I'm like, "Well, that's not how it works." And over time, and so what ended up happening is I started working out with her. She became my workout partner, and she valued it so much that she would start, skipping some of her other crazy workouts just so she could work out with her trainer, because to her it was like a big deal. And little by little, I converted her to, training the proper way. And it was so funny. 2 years later, it took 2 years. 2 years later, I remember I was like, this is the right time now to rub it in her face. And I sat her down and I said, hey,
finally.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, how many miles do you run a week, these days now? And she's like, like 2, maybe 2 miles. It's mostly just like a little bit of sprint here and there. I'm like, oh, and you're lifting like 4 or 5 days a week? Yeah. And I'm like, how many calories are you eating? She's like, oh my God, I eat almost 3,000 calories a day. So I brought out the old file and I showed her. I said, remember all the arguments you had? This is all the activity you did. This is how many calories. And she looks at me and she's like, yeah, I can't believe my body. She's like, it's funny because I have a fast metabolism now. Now I go out and I eat with my husband and I have these huge meals and I don't blow up and gain all this body weight. She's like, it's kind of funny that I now have the metabolism of people who I used to think I would never be able to be that way.
This was Catrina.
Build it.
This was an epiphany for her. I mean, we've been together now 8 years, and I spent the first 3 not putting my 2 cents in. I mean, that's just because this is the older, wiser version of me, right? Younger me would try and tell girlfriends or tell them what to do, and it's like learned really quick that doesn't work. And so I never bugged her. I mean, she's a collegiate level athlete. So her whole life she's been into sports. She knows, and to be at that high of a level, anybody that's played college sports, Division I too. So she's not like a small time player, small time athlete. This girl has got the attitude to train at the highest level, and so she's approached her fitness her entire life that way. And then she meets the trainer fitness guy, and we're dating and we're together, and it's like, and I see what she's doing. It's like going out for 5-mile runs. Like, she's, when she wants to lose a little bit of body fat, that's what she does. She
run every day.
Yeah. Runs every day, like hardcore for long distance. And, and in the gym, like everything's a circuit. She doesn't just do squats and then rest for 2 minutes. Hell no. It's squats, jump boxes, bicep curls, push-ups, in a circuit with never more rest than 30 seconds. And That's how she's trained like her entire life. And she's seen herself in great shape, or for her eyes, or what she's seen as the best shape she's ever been through training this way. And she's performed at high levels at playing sports. And so here I am going like, you're going about it all the wrong way. I mean, if your goals are if you want to sculpt and shape this body and you want it to look like this and you want more of this and less of that, like the way you're approaching it is all wrong. And it took 3 years in our relationship before she finally came to me and said, okay, if you were to tell me how to do it and I were to follow it to a T, okay, well, cut all this out. Stop doing this. Slow way down on your workouts. We're going to just do straight sets. You're going to rest for 2 minutes at a time between. And it was torturous for her. For
slowly increase your calories.
Yeah. But then she went from that person to, holy shit, I'm eating twice than I've ever. I haven't ran in months. It had been 6-8 months at that point before she'd ever ran again. And she's like, I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm eating more food than I ever ate. I'm not running at all, and I can maintain this. And it's awesome because now I can go off the diet a little bit, and I can easily counter it by a little bit of extra movement, and I've built this incredible healthy metabolism.
And I think it's important to say that it's not that the way that I'm saying it or that Adam's saying it or Justin's saying it is better necessarily. They both can be healthy depending on the context. We're saying it's better in the context of maintaining forever in modern life. That's the bottom line. Like, what's easier to maintain? Running every single day for an hour and a half, eating low calories all the time to maintain yourself, or spending less time in the gym and having a faster metabolism so you can eat more and enjoy certain things and the fact that food is so plentiful. That's all we're saying. So if you're thinking to yourself like, well, I fucking love running 50 miles a week. That's my favorite thing in the world to do, and that's all I want to do. And I don't like food that much. I prefer eating 1,200 calories or whatever. I don't need to eat that much. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do your thing. But most people are going to say, actually, I'd rather not have to commit to so much damn time doing so much exercise. I'd like to not have to beat the crap out of myself every time I work out in order to maintain this. And I would like some flexibility where I can enjoy myself here and there with food and not see this huge rebound. Well, then focus on the way you're training. Because remember, the way you train sends a signal to your body to adapt in a particular way. And the way we tend to advocate is to adapt in a faster metabolism, easier to maintain type of way versus a manual burning of calories, lots of work type of way, which is harder to maintain. So that's pretty much it. Look, with that, go to mindpumpfree.com and download our guides. We had a lot of guides, and they're all free. We have squat guides, arm building guides, guides for your core, your back, your shoulders, your calves. We even have calf guides. Again, mindpumpfree.com. You can also find us on Instagram. Justin is at mindpumpjustin. My page is mindpumpsal, and Adam is mindpumpadam.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.